Hi, this is Brandon and Roman from the Technical Evangelist Group at Riverbed. So today we are going to discuss about SaaS Accelerator.
Yeah. So, recently I took a trip to Paris, a place I'm not from. Roman is, though. Roman, when we talked about this, it was a really interesting experience for me because I had a PowerPoint presentation that I needed to edit. Mm-hmm. I didn't have it local, and I thought, well, I'll just open it up from SharePoint. And when I opened it up, or tried to open it up, it took me quite a long time just to get that file. Now, I thought when we had these SaaS applications like Office 365 that these things were fast and that it was supposed to be no problem, but that wasn't the case. So the SaaS Accelerator service from Riverbed, that can fix this whole problem, right?
So what was the problem exactly?
Well, our Office 365 tenant was in the United States and I wasn't.
Okay,
so I had latency between where I was at and between where the file was at.
So the bandwidth was not a problem at all?
Not at all.
Okay, good.
So Office 365 service is fine.
Yeah.
My bandwidth is fine. Latency is still an issue. So I can use SaaS Accelerator to fix that, right?
So how does it work?
Okay, so this is what's really cool about SaaS Accelerator. When we talk about WAN optimization, I'm just going to draw a little bit of a cloud here. So let's say this is the internet, right?
Okay.
And when we talk about just traditional optimization, so let's say we have branch B over here.
Okay.
And branch A over here, and we're doing traffic between the two of them. We can implement something like a steelhead, and we can do WAN optimization, no problem. And that fixes the latency issues, right? It helps us out with that. The problem that we see, right, is that now we're moving to SaaS applications. So we've got things like Office 365, Salesforce, and so on. We've got all of those out there, and we're going now direct to the internet. I can't put a steelhead out here because I don't own that infrastructure.
Sure.
Right? So this is where SaaS Accelerator shines. So what Riverbed does with SaaS Accelerator is we give you the ability to bring up a cluster of steelheads essentially that are cloud-based as a service, done all for you in the background, and we put it right there where that infrastructure is. So we would have our...
So when we say we, that's Riverbed, that's a managed service that we are offering to customers.
Right. So we would have our SaaS Accelerator cluster sitting right out there, right?
Okay.
Got this right so far?
So that's spin up by Riverbed and managed by Riverbed. So whenever you are in branch B or A, you can just accelerate towards that cluster which is close to Office 365 or Salesforce or any other SaaS apps that we support.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so here's Riverbed. We're sitting here. We provision that for the customer. Customer's sitting in the branch. They have a local steelhead here.
Okay.
They configure a couple of rules. They're licensed for it.
Yeah.
And now we can optimize here, and then they're dropped off right there at Office 365 or Salesforce or Box or whatever.
So, okay, let me understand how different it is from SD-WAN solution. I mean, with SD-WAN, the promise is that we don't have to backhaul the traffic to a central location, so we save on latency. So we are potentially closer to the tenants, and we can redirect the traffic so we go direct to net. So how does it work? Okay,
so that's good because it's really a complementary service, right? Mm-hmm. Because when you think about that and the promise of SD-WAN, when we talk about the Riverbed Steel Connect EX solution, it addresses all of those functions and features and promises. So to backhaul, not to backhaul, we don't have to backhaul with Steel Connect EX. We can go direct to internet.
Okay.
We can implement firewall services, no problem. That's all great. But what's interesting when it comes to SD-WAN is while it has features and it meets those challenges that we see in a wide area network, right, or across big geographic locations, you still can't get away from latency. There's latency on the internet we have no control over. And then, especially in that situation like I ended up in when I was in Paris, I was across the ocean, and where my files were was there's latency between us, and we had no control over that network. So even though the SD-WAN network worked fine, I could communicate with anybody within the Riverbed network across our SD-WAN. But once I went outside the organization, now I've got to contend with latency that I don't have control over.
Okay.
Until I implement SaaS Accelerator, now I do have control over it, right?
All right. But SaaS Accelerator, has to work with our SD-WAN solution, or can it work with other vendors?
That's another benefit, right? So you say our solution, it complements our solution, doesn't have to run with our SD-WAN solution. It can actually operate independent. So maybe you don't even have an SD-WAN solution, but you do make heavy use of Office 365 or any SaaS application that we support. You could independently implement the SaaS Accelerator service from Riverbed and optimize that traffic and accelerate that traffic. In fact, we talked about putting a steelhead in a branch. We don't actually need to do that because we could just implement an agent on a client.
Oh, okay. Tell me more about that.
Okay, so that's our Steelhead mobile client. The Steelhead mobile client we can install on Windows or Mac OS.
Okay.
And now when that user travels, whether they're behind one of our gateways or not, they still have that acceleration service that's performed between their client and the SaaS Accelerator service.
That's really brilliant. So for Nomad users, for VP levels and CXO, they can, when they travel, benefit from the best performance from everywhere.
Yep.
That's perfect. Okay, sounds good. All right.
So I think we covered all the bases of
Yeah.
SaaS Accelerator, right?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, looking forward to read your blog on that
Yes.
and having more details.
All right.
But it looks good. Thanks,
Yeah.
Brandon.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.